Okay, I wanted to do just a quick video showing. Now I haven't started my truck all day since yesterday, and it's moderately cold outside. So I just want to show kind of how, you know, the 22 RE kind of should start up. So take it out of gear here. Now I'm not gonna put my foot on the throttle at all, just to illustrate how, you know, when your 22 RE is doing its thing, here's how it should start, okay? Put the clutch pedal in. That always helps. There we go. Immediately up and running. Didn't have to give it any gas with the throttle, although sometimes I do hold the throttle open a quarter. Jumped right up. Usually jumps up around 1250 to 1500. That's on account of the idle air control valve and the ECU getting the show on the road. You can see down here we've got fuel pressure 35 psi. The engine oil is 60 degrees. Ambient temperature outside, you know, just mid 50s, nothing crazy. I also have the crankcase vacuum set to about half. We've got over here, we've got, you know, oil pressure in the middle where it should be. Although anywhere between, not the line over by L is 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. H is 5. For idling, anywhere between lines 1 up to 3 is where the manual specifies, so that's fine. We've got electricity happening from the alternator. Now, as you may have seen some other videos, this little gauge sticks. If I hit it, it'll pop up, but it doesn't really come off of the left-hand side until, you know, the truck coolant gets up, you know, 100 degrees. Let's see, I guess I'm talking about the oil. So until the engine oil gets up to about 80 degrees, then that doesn't move. I still have not touched the throttle. You can see that engine RPMs are up at 1400. The ECU, according to the wideband controller down there, has got us running a little rich. Now it's starting to back it off, heading back towards the stoichiometric. And you can see the engine RPMs have fallen, and we're at about 3 minutes here, 2 minutes sort of thing. And the reason the idle has started to drop is because the idle air control valve has started to close and reduce the amount of air coming into the motor. The ECU is trying to maintain a stoichiometric air-fuel ratio of around 1. Once the motor gets up to temp, it usually hangs out at about 0.95 lambda, and you can just multiply that 0.95 by 14.7 to convert it to air-fuel ratio. I run the gauge in lambda. What else? You know, I guess that's kind of... Oh, I should mention I have my airflow meters clicked 1 click richer, since I have a little bit, since I have a cam and valves and cylinder head and stuff. But still have not touched the accelerator. Just let the computer do its thing. And oil temperature at the galley on the block is up to 75 degrees. And we can give it a little gas, you know, here. So that's just for anyone who's kind of, you know, wrestling with getting their truck working, or their 22 RE, and like, oh, you know, I have trouble cranking it, or, you know, this or that or the other thing, or it won't idle right, or, you know, the RPMs bounce up and down, or what should it be like. I think this video gives a pretty good, you know, indication of what it should be like. like I say, I didn't have to give it any throttle. Just crank it and it immediately springs to life when everything is functioning correctly. I don't know if we got any. Yeah, there you go. So kind of, and then it's already starting to come down to where I have it set at about 900 on the idle. So kind of gives you, just maybe if you're curious, kind of how, when your 22RE is in good health, how it should respond, what it's like to start the vehicle when it's relatively cold and it's been sitting, and the motor is ice cold. Maybe this video kind of gives you a little bit of a feeling of like, okay, this is what it should be like when everything is in real good shape with the 22RE, the throttle position switch is adjusted correctly, the idle is set, kind of well, the idle air control valve is not sticking, the airflow meter is swinging freely, the valves are in adjustment, the spark plugs are fresh, kind of all those kinds of things you've seen me do in my other videos. That all should culminate to a Toyota that is very easy to start, idles well, even if you just turn it on and go back in the house and let it warm up, which I usually do because I'm running hyper-eutectic pistons, so with ceramic coating on them. So I like to let the engine come up to temperature before I jump on and head out, head out of the house and stuff like that. So I usually let my truck kind of warm up, and you can see right now my idle dropped down to about 750. That is because I have my idle air control valve is a little out of adjustment. So right around this point, the idle will get a little bit kind of sketchy because I have my idle air control valve not set perfectly. As the motor gets past that little point where my adjusting of the idle air control valve has kind of not matched where it's supposed to be, and then the truck gets fully warmed up, then the idle will go back. But that gives you a good example of how important the idle air control valve can be to proper idling during warm-up. See, it goes almost all the way down to 600, 500, and it's kind of rough idle. That's completely on account of me not having my idle air control valve set where it's supposed to be. So that's a good illustration too. Now, as it continues to heat up and kind of get to where the idle air control valve closes, then it will kind of stabilize, at the more like the 900 RPMs that I have it set for. So that kind of gives you an indication. And normally on the oil temperature, I know like anywhere between 100 and 130 on the oil temperature. I know, okay, that's not going to be, you can see that's not going to be a good idle. Once I get past 130, the idle air control valve closes completely, and then my idle stays right at the 900 where I have it set. And so I have to eventually pull off my idle air control valve and figure out, am I like half a turn too far, or am I half a turn not far enough? And if you look at some of the older videos that I have on the channel, you can see kind of, let me go ahead and turn the motor off here. If you look at some of the older videos I have on the channel, you can kind of see that I monkeyed around with the idle air control valve quite a bit. And I think I'm pretty far off the map as far as from factory setting, but it's such a hassle to pull that thing off and adjust it. I just have been living with it. But I think the video, illustrates kind of what, kind of how the pickup truck should function, or how the 22RE should function when it's ice cold. Up until when you start getting some heat in the motor. And if you haven't messed with the adjustment of your idle air control valve. Be glad about that. Okay, I'll put this video up. Primarily made this for a gentleman on the channel named Dan, but I think it'll be helpful to everybody, so I'll go ahead and make it public. All right, thanks for watching. If you got any questions or anything, feel free to use the comment section below.